Welcome to our channel. We're so glad you're here. If you love inspiring stories, powerful lessons, and thought-provoking content, you've come to the right place. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an exciting update. Join our growing community and let's share the journey together. The buzz of fluorescent lights faintly echoed in the open office of Hudson & Company, a mid-sized marketing firm located in the heart of downtown Louisville, Kentucky. The building was a sleek blend of glass and steel, with expansive windows offering a view of a vibrant city. For 25-year-old Maya, this was meant to be the first step in proving that she could make her own mark. She entered the office on her first day, exuding confidence beneath a composed exterior. Her deep brown skin shimmered in the natural sunlight streaming through the windows, and her natural curls framed a face that blended quiet determination with youthful optimism. Maya wasn't just any entry-level employee. She was the daughter of the company's CEO, Michael Harris. However, this was a detail she had chosen to keep to herself. Michael Harris, at 55, was a highly respected figure in the industry, known for his sharp intellect and leadership that combined vision with integrity. He was a man who had earned a reputation for valuing hard work and responsibility. But this story wasn't about him. It was about Maya. Maya had pleaded with her father to allow her to work her way up from the bottom without relying on her family connections. Reluctantly, Michael had agreed, assigning her to the marketing department under the supervision of a manager named Derek Price. Derek, a 45-year-old with a well-groomed beard and a penchant for expensive suits, was known for his cutthroat, results-oriented approach. But beneath his polished demeanor, he was quick to judge, and even quicker to dismiss anyone he deemed unworthy of his attention. From the moment Maya introduced herself, Derek's handshake was stiff and impersonal, his gaze briefly scanning her before moving on. "Marketing assistant, huh?" he muttered with a half-smirk, barely meeting her eyes. "Let's get one thing straight. I don't have time to hold your hand. I expect you to keep up." Maya felt a knot tighten in her stomach, but offered a polite smile. "Understood, Mr. Price. I'm here to learn and contribute." Derek gave a curt nod, turning away. "Good. Your desk is over there. Stay out of my way." Maya's desk was tucked away in a corner, far from the team. It felt like a deliberate move on Derek's part, reinforcing her position at the bottom of the office hierarchy. The first few weeks were harder than Maya had expected. While her colleagues engaged in lively brainstorming sessions, she found herself mostly on the sidelines. Her suggestions were often met with dismissive comments, thinly disguised as jokes. "Nice try, Maya," Derek would say, his voice dripping with condescension. "But maybe let the more experienced ones handle this." What stung the most wasn't just the rejection. It was the subtle undertone that made it clear Derek saw her as less capable, less worthy of his time. But Maya refused to let it show. Each night she stayed late at the office, going over campaign data, refining her ideas and researching trends. She wanted her work to speak for itself, but Derek didn't seem to notice or care. "Coffee run," he barked one morning, tossing a $20 bill onto her desk without even looking at her. "I need my usual. Don't take all day." Maya stared at the bill for a moment before grabbing her coat. Whispers from her colleagues reached her ears. "She's not going to last," one voice murmured. "Yeah, he's really got it out for her," another added. Maya clenched her jaw. They were wrong. She wasn't going anywhere. The weeks dragged on, and Derek's behavior only worsened. It wasn't just the demeaning tasks or the curt responses, it was the constant undermining of her every effort. In team meetings, her ideas were either ignored or subtly appropriated by Derek, who would twist her words just enough to present them as his own. One Monday morning, the team gathered in the conference room for a final discussion on an upcoming campaign for a new client, a mid-sized tech company based out of San Francisco. Maya had spent the weekend crafting a detailed proposal, thoroughly researching trends and demographic data, and creating a campaign strategy she believed could make a significant impact. "Anyone have suggestions?" Derek asked, his eyes briefly scanning the room. When his gaze landed on Maya, it wasn't one of interest. It was a warning. Maya hesitated but raised her hand anyway. "I think we could position the product as a sustainable solution, focusing on the growing interest in eco-friendly technology among the target audience," she said. Derek smirked, leaning back in his chair. "Sustainable, huh? That's ambitious." His tone was dismissive, but he didn't move on. Instead, he turned to another team member, Mark. "What do you think, Mark?" Mark glanced at Maya, an apologetic look crossing his face before he spoke up. "Actually, I think Maya's idea makes sense," he said. "The market data shows an increasing demand for eco-friendly solutions in tech. We should explore this angle." Derek's smirk faded, replaced with a begrudging nod. "Fine," he said sharply, his voice losing its previous dismissiveness. "We'll look into it. Let's move on." As the meeting continued, Maya could feel the weight of Derek's disdain hanging in the air. Despite his reluctant agreement, he made no effort to acknowledge her contribution, which only fueled her determination to prove herself. Maya knew she had to keep pushing forward, even if Derek continued to dismiss her. The weeks that followed were full of similar instances. Derek would belittle her suggestions or take credit for her work. One morning, Maya arrived at work to find a stack of paperwork on her desk with a sticky note attached, reading, "Sort this by the end of the day. Thanks." It was a task that could have easily been delegated to an intern. When Maya asked Derek about it, he shrugged and dismissed her question with a curt reply. "Everyone has to pitch in. You're not too good for a little grunt work, are you?" Maya didn't respond. She spent the rest of the day organizing the papers, feeling a mix of frustration and resolve. By the time she finished, the office was nearly empty, and Derek walked past her cubicle, stopping briefly to look at her work. "Still here?" he asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Guess you've got something to prove." Maya didn't look up. "Good night, Derek," she said, her voice steady, though her fists were clenched at her sides. The following Friday morning, things at the office were particularly hectic. The team was preparing for a major client presentation scheduled for the afternoon, and the pressure was mounting. Derek seemed to thrive on the chaos, barking orders and pacing around like a drill sergeant. Maya sat at her desk, reviewing her notes, ready for the moment that might finally allow her to shine. The conference room was packed as the team gathered for the final review. Derek took his place at the head of the table, his expression a mixture of irritation and smug satisfaction. Maya sat near the end, her hands resting on the open notebook in front of her. As the meeting began, Derek quickly took control. "Let's start with the creative concepts," he announced. His eyes briefly flicked over to Maya, a look of disapproval crossing his face before he turned away. Maya stood up when it was her turn to present, but just as she began, Derek interrupted her. "Hold on," he said, raising a hand. "Before you get into that, I want to remind everyone that we need polished ideas. This isn't the time for experimentation." His tone was dismissive, and Maya could feel the sting of his words. She hesitated for a moment, but took a deep breath, determined to press on. "As I was saying," Maya continued, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat, "I believe we should position the product as both innovative and socially responsible. I've developed a campaign theme that highlights these qualities." She watched Derek's expression closely as he sat back in his chair, arms crossed. Derek didn't look at her as she spoke. Instead, he turned to another team member, Tyler, and asked, "Tyler, what do you think?" Maya felt the burn of humiliation, but she refused to let it show. Tyler glanced at her before replying, "Actually, Maya has a good point. The data suggests that a focus on social responsibility could resonate with the target audience." Derek's dismissive look deepened, but he nodded curtly. "Fine," Derek said, his voice sharp. "We'll explore it. Now let's move on." Maya sat back down, her hands trembling slightly as she tried to compose herself. She had done the best she could, but she couldn't shake the feeling that no matter how hard she worked, it wouldn't be enough for Derek. The next few weeks continued in much the same way. Maya would present her ideas, only for Derek to shoot them down or take credit for them later. She started to feel exhausted, both mentally and emotionally, but she couldn't quit. She had made a commitment to herself and to the team that she would succeed on her own merit, not because of her connections. One Friday afternoon, just before a big client meeting, Maya found herself sitting at her desk, reviewing a proposal she had worked on tirelessly. She was determined to make this meeting count. As the team gathered in the conference room, Derek took his usual place at the head of the table, barking orders and making last-minute changes. The meeting started off tense, with Derek rushing through the agenda and barely letting anyone speak. When it was Maya's turn to present her segment, Derek cut her off almost immediately. "Let's move on to something else," he said, before she could finish her introduction. Maya's frustration boiled over. She stood up, her voice firm and steady as she confronted him. "Derek, why do you keep cutting me off? Why do you keep belittling my contributions?" The room fell silent, everyone sensing the tension. Derek glared at her, his smirk fading. "What's your problem, Maya?" he snapped. Maya stood her ground, refusing to back down. "I've been putting in the hours. I've been doing the work, and yet you constantly undermine me." Derek's face reddened, but he didn't say anything at first. The silence stretched on, heavy and uncomfortable. Maya could feel her pulse racing, but she held her head high. Finally, Derek scoffed, his usual smirk returning. "You're in over your head. Maybe you should consider something more suited to your skills." The insult was clear, and Maya's fist clenched at her sides. She wasn't going to let him get away with this. Before Maya could respond, the door to the conference room opened. Standing in the doorway was Mr. Lawson, her father, the CEO of the company. His presence filled the room instantly, his tall frame exuding authority. Derek froze, his confidence evaporating. "What's going on here?" Mr. Lawson asked calmly, his voice carrying an edge of authority. Derek stammered, trying to regain his composure. I was just, Maya and I were discussing." He trailed off, realizing his words didn't make sense. Mr. Lawson's gaze shifted to Maya, softening. "Are you all right, Maya?" he asked, his voice filled with genuine concern. The room fell completely silent. Derek looked from Mr. Lawson to Maya, the realization dawning on him. "Wait, she's your—" he began, but Mr. Lawson finished his sentence for him. "My daughter," Mr. Lawson said, his tone now firm. "And from what I overheard, it sounds like you've been treating her with a level of disrespect I won't tolerate." Derek's face turned pale. He stumbled over his words. I didn't realize." "That's the problem, Derek," Mr. Lawson interrupted. "You didn't realize because you didn't care to. You assumed she wasn't worth your time, but now you'll see how wrong you were." Derek opened his mouth to protest, but Mr. Lawson raised a hand to silence him. "We'll discuss this later. For now, you're excused," Mr. Lawson said, his voice cold. "Maya and I have a presentation to prepare." Derek quickly gathered his things, his usual swagger gone, and fled the room. Mr. Lawson turned to Maya, his expression softening. "You handled yourself well," he said, his voice warm. "But from now on, you don't have to fight these battles alone. Let me help." Maya blinked, surprised, and a wave of relief washed over her. "Thank you, Dad." Mr. Lawson placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Let's show them what you're made of." Maya smiled, feeling a newfound sense of strength and determination. She was no longer just fighting for recognition. She was fighting for her place. Later that afternoon, as the team gathered in the conference room for the client presentation, the atmosphere was tense. Everyone was on edge, but Maya felt a sense of calm. With her father by her side, she knew this was her moment to shine. Mr. Lawson stood at the head of the table, introducing Maya with a sense of pride. "This next segment was developed by one of our most promising team members," he said, his voice steady and filled with confidence. "I'll let her take it from here." Maya stood up, taking a deep breath. Her palms were slightly sweaty, but her voice was steady as she began. "After thorough research into the client's target market and brand voice, I've developed a campaign that will highlight the product's innovation while emphasizing its social responsibility. We believe this will resonate with their demographic." As she spoke, Maya could feel the room shift. Her colleagues, who had once doubted her, were now listening attentively. Even Derek, who had been so dismissive of her earlier, was nodding along, though she could see the begrudging respect in his eyes. By the end of her presentation, Maya noticed a visible shift in the room. The clients were nodding in approval, a few even making notes. One of them, a middle-aged woman with sharp glasses, turned to Mr. Lawson. "This is exactly what we were hoping for," she said with a smile. "Who developed this?" Maya hesitated for a moment, but before she could answer, Mr. Lawson spoke up. "The credit belongs entirely to Maya," he said, his voice strong and proud. "She's been the driving force behind this campaign." The room erupted in applause. Maya couldn't help but smile. For the first time since she'd joined the company, she felt truly seen. Her hard work, her dedication, her ideas, they were all finally being recognized. As the applause died down, Maya noticed Derek sitting in his chair, rigid and uncomfortable. He didn't say a word, but his expression told it all. He knew he had underestimated her, and now it was too late to change that. After the presentation, Maya walked out of the room with her head held high. As she passed her colleagues, a few of them stopped to congratulate her. Jared, the team member who had supported her from the beginning, gave her an encouraging smile. "You did great, Maya," he said. "You really nailed it." Maya smiled, grateful for his support. "Thanks, Jared. It means a lot." As the day came to a close, Maya sat at her desk, reflecting on how far she had come. She had faced obstacles, biases, and challenges, but she had proven to herself and to others that she belonged, and she was just getting started.